Hey guys, what's up, it's iFlynn here, and in today's video, I'm going to be teaching you guys how you can run Netracell missions to farm up Archon Shards, and also melee Arcanes and melee Arcane Adapters. So first things first, you have to have completed the Whispers in the Walls quest. Once you've completed that quest, if you go over to Deimos, you can enter the Sanctum Anatomica. Then once you're here in the Sanctum, go ahead, pause the game, press Sanctum Fast Travel, and go to Tagfer. Tagfer is this goat cat looking thing, and if you go ahead and press Netracells, it's going to give you all of the details. So where it says search pulses 0 out of 5, that basically means how many times you can do this mission within a week. So basically every single week you're going to be able to run a Netracell 5 times. And down here it shows you the possible rewards, so Archon Shard, melee Arcane, Tauforged Archon Shard, and melee Arcane Adapters. It says that the difficulty is very high, so the enemy level is between 220 to 240. We've got empowered enemies, so enemy health and shields are increased by 100% and an additional 50% for each squad member, stacking up to a maximum of 300%. You've got increased chance of Eximus enemies spawning in. You can't self-revive, so you can only be revived by other teammates. And if you keep on going down, basically the amount of time that you've got to be picked up is going to get shorter and shorter. You can't summon anything in this mission, and every single type of restore, so energy restore, has a 3-minute cooldown. Now all of that might sound a little bit daunting, but it's actually a lot easier than you think. If you're a newer player, what I recommend doing is getting yourself a Rhino Warframe, picking up the Nadaruk, making yourself a Spore Lacer, and getting yourself the Zorus. All you really have to do on Rhino is run a build that looks like this. This is just a high ability strength, high ability duration build, and the focus is on having a strong roar buff. Then you also have a strong iron skin, which is going to keep you alive. If you really wanted to, you could go ahead and subsume a Vault to get the shock ability and throw on Shock Tripper for additional damage. Or if you don't want to do that, you can go ahead and run the Ironclad Charge Augment for more iron skin, because using this means that you're using Rhino's first ability to charge through the enemies. The more enemies you charge through, the higher your armor value, and the higher your armor value, the more iron skin you get. That's why we're running Steel Fiber as a defensive mod here. You can swap that out for something different if you really want to. On your Nadaruk, you want to go ahead and run a build that looks like this. You can go ahead and swap Prime Shred for a different fire rate mod. If you don't have access to the Arcanes, such as Primary Merciless, you can run a build that looks like this. On your Spore Lacer, you can run a build that looks like this. This has Corrosive Heat, and if you go the direction of using Shock over Rhino's first ability, then it's going to combine with the Heat to make Corrosive Radiation, which is going to deal bonus damage versus these enemies in here. Then we also have the Zorus, which deals electric damage on its own. So you can run a build like this, and then if you're using Shock and Shock Tripper, well, you're going to deal more damage with the Zorus. So this is just one of many loadout options you've got. This is just sort of like the bare minimum that I recommend that you take into this type of mission, because you will be able to get through it, but you can make this mission a lot more optimal. What's going to happen is whenever you go into the Netracell is that there's going to be 4 keys that you have to pick up, and every single key is going to debuff you in some type of way. Now you can play this co-op, which means you only have to pick up 1 key. Each player gets 1 key, but if you're playing it solo, you have to carry all 4. Basically what's going to happen is you pick up all 4 keys, and then you have to find a vault. You have to activate this vault by spending one of the keys, and then you have to kill a bunch of bad guys in a certain area to actually lower the security level so you can enter the vault. Now the game isn't going to tell you exactly where the vault is whenever you spawn into the mission. You have to hack these computers for it to pinpoint the location of the vault, or if you're a pro player, you can just find it without hacking the consoles. It's totally down to you. So the real test here is staying alive and killing a bunch of enemies. Now we have to do it within a specific area, so we want some way to sort of group the enemies up, and what I recommend for that is the Nautilus Sentinel. If you go ahead and run a build that looks like this, you want to focus on this mod called Cordon. So it says Nautilus forces enemies within 30 meters of the target into clusters for easier targeting. This basically grips all the enemies up for you. And then another thing you can use is actually on your operator, so it's called Magus Anomaly. Whenever you go into your operator form, it says enemies within 30 meters are pulled towards your Warframe. So you just keep on spamming your transference, and you're going to pull all the bad guys towards you, and you just want to go ahead and kill them that way. So stay alive, grip all the enemies up, and kill them. That's basically the mission. Another frame that I recommend running is actually Styanax, and the reason we recommend Styanax is because his 4th ability is like a nuking ability where he jumps in the air and throws all of these javelins, dealing slash damage to the enemies. It's quite strong with a high ability strength build. On top of that, you also have this augment mod called Intrepid Stand, which gives you and all of your teammates overguard per every single javelin hit. You can replace his first ability with pretty much any ability that you want, so I went ahead and threw on Yurish. You could throw on Roar if you really want to. And his second ability is one of the best armor stripping abilities in the game, making the enemies in here even easier to kill. If you wanted, you could even use Dante, so I went ahead and put Rhino's Roar over his first ability. And this is just an ability spam build, so you wait for all the enemies to come into the area that you need to kill them. Then you can use Dark First and Tragedy to just nuke the entire group of enemies. And if you wanted to be really quick, you could use Wukong with a build that looks like this. We put Rhino's Roar over his first ability, and basically we're going to be using Cloudwalker to get between all of the computers and find the vault very fast. We've got the Nautilus to grip up all the enemies for us, paired with Magus Anomaly as well. And keep in mind, Wukong's passive means he literally cannot die, so if you do happen to die in this mission, well, he'll just like insta revive himself. You basically have 3 extra lives with Wukong. And if you're running Wukong, you're going to be running melee, so I'm running a melee influence melee weapon such as the Dual Ichor, and this is the type of build that I'm running on it. The evos that I'm running is Ronin's Rush, Resolute Force, and Absolute Valor. You might also want to consider running primary dexterity and secondary dexterity because you're mainly using melee as your form of damage dealing. It might be worthwhile bringing a explosive weapon of some sort as well, because whenever you're killing all of the enemies in sort of like a big area, what's going to happen from time to time is the game is going to go ask you to kill a drone, and this drone is going to be in a smaller area. So what you can do is you can sort of like go into the general area and just spam the explosive weapon in a random direction, and hopefully that's going to kill the drone for you. That's if you want to be really quick. Okay, so the gameplay that we're watching now is my fastest Netracell run, just to show you guys how I go about doing it. So this is using Wukong and the Dual Ichor. Of course, you guys can use Rhino, you can use Revenant, you can use Styanax, you could use Titania, whatever frame you're comfortable playing, whatever frame you can survive with, that's what you want to use here. I just like to do things fast because, you know, it's a weekly thing. It just sort of feels like a chore after a little while, like doing all this stuff, you know, like you want to just sort of optimize it and get out of the way, especially with like how little Archon Shards we actually get. Like you just want to get things done and out of the way. That's why I opt for doing things as quickly as possible. So I want to give a quick shout out to a very small YouTuber called Maller, 415 subscribers. He posted this literally like 2 days ago, this Wukong method, and I was like, wow, that's really cool, you know, because it's not something that that I've seen people do before, right? Like using Wukong to go through and group enemies with the Arcane, and then using melee influence to kill big grip, right? Because that's what melee influence does. It spreads all of the damage across multiple enemies, so it's pretty cool that way. So yeah, you can, like I said, go ahead and skip hacking the computers, but because, of course, we're making a guide for newer players who aren't going to know where the Netracell actually is, I figured, you know what, we'll show this quick run actually, like, hacking the computers. And even I myself, like, I've been doing so many Netracells since I've came back, I don't even know where they spawn in all the time, and I figure, you know what, hacking these computers just to get it pinpointed is going to be far more consistent than me trying to look for it on my own. So I just turned up to the vault there. I put the key in, and what I'm doing is I'm just going towards the enemies. I'm going in and out of my operator to group them up, and then I'm just meleeing them. Sometimes I'm accidentally fingering my chat button. And the guy that I got this off, the Maller guy, he was using a macro for the operator swapping and the meleeing, because you can melee sort of cancel out of your operator back into your frame. I wasn't really doing that. I was just spamming my 5 and then just meleeing whenever I see fit, and I was sort of being a little bit more proactive with it, like I was going towards the enemies. And as you guys can see, I actually forget to cast Roar in this little gameplay, so if I had have casted Roar, it probably would have been a little bit faster, but hey, it was still sub 6 minutes, so it is what it is. But yeah, you just want to keep on grouping all the enemies up and then just spamming the melee, and then eventually what's going to happen is the circle is going to get moved, and it's going to say that you have to go and kill a drone. And that usually happens around the 70-75% mark, so we're going to see it happen pretty soon, where the game is like, oh man, like this thing is preventing your progress, you got to go kill this thing. It's not happening at 70% in this gameplay. Well, so as you can see here, at 67%, the game was like, oh my god, you got to go find this drone. I just whip out the Icarius and I just shot at it to, you know, get it killed as fast as possible. Not everything that I showed you guys, like using the Nautilus and using the Icarius, was mentioned by the Malurf guy. So that's just stuff that I added because I thought, hey, that's just going to make it easier for me, make it a little bit lazy, turn off my brain, you know, that there type of stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much that. I just kept on looking at the mini map and looking to see, okay, where are all the red arrows, going towards them, and then spamming my operator transference, then spamming melee, and that was pretty much it. I mainly kept on trying to focus the Eximus enemies, right? Whenever I seen an Eximus enemy, I was always walking towards that and meleeing it, just because those are like the annoying enemies that you want to take care of. So anytime you see an Eximus enemy, like just focus on meleeing it. And because you've got that melee influence on, all the enemies around, they're going to be affected by it. So, you know, you might as well. Now we're coming near the end. Here we see 0%. It says search to Netracell. So I just go back into my cloud form. I go towards the vault. You got to interact with it again. These big hands are going to move out of the way. Then you got to come up these stairs and around. You got to wait for this platform to move up. It's very slow, which you could just jump down on top of it, to be honest. We break open this container. There we go. We got an unidentified item. Now we just go ahead and we rush to the exit. You also get 2 Entrati Landforms as well. Then once you get to the exit, you can see what reward you got. So this run, I happened to get a Crimson Archon Shard. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, as it helps the channel a lot. If you want to get early access to my videos, you can become a channel member by pressing the join button beneath this video for $5 a month. Or if you want early access to other cool resources and behind the scenes content, you can subscribe to my Patreon for less than $5 a month. Consider clicking on the video on screen, and I'll see you guys in the next one.